And welcome to We Believe Digital Studios and the We Believe Digital Newsbreak Show. Friday, 12 noon, 92 degrees right now in Jackson, Mississippi, heading for 95, 96 degrees by about 3 o'clock this afternoon. So we're just rolling with it as best we can. Prayerful for those people that have to be outside in this heat, and grateful for those that can be able to be inside. We got about 16 different news topics to share with you today. Now, you may have heard of some of them, but hopefully some will be new information for you or expand a little bit on what you may have heard a little snippet of earlier. So it started out actually in Rankin, focused on Rankin County. This horrific treatment by these Rankin County deputies back in January of Mr. Jenkins, Michael Jenkins, and Eddie Parker, beaten, tortured. The list goes on and on. Just absolutely horrific. And the Black Legislative Caucus have said that all parties responsible for the crimes should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. So that's the black legislators in Mississippi calling for the indictment of these former Rankin County deputies. Not sweep it under the rug. They want to see these deputies indicted. So they have sent a letter to the caucus sent a letter to Mississippi Attorney General Lynn Fitch on July 9th requesting the indictment of the deputies and other officers involved. Representative Christopher Bell, Democrats, District 65, said Fitch's Attorney General Lynn Fitch's silence on the issue speaks volumes, and that was reported by WJTV. Just sharing that with you. Hopefully that will come to pass. In another story from JTV also, indicate there's an organization in the city of Jackson helping to shape the future leaders of the world. The goal at Men of Honor Mississippi, that's the organization name, Men of Honor Mississippi, is to inspire, empower, and educate young men. The summer enrichment program teaches young men conflict resolution, Christian values, and confidence building. The man behind the mission is Coach Samuel West, who is the executive director of the organization. Our mission is to save lives, he says. Our mission is to teach our young African American men, also teach them how to move from being boys to young men, and to keep them alive long enough that they can get a good start in life. So that's the goal. So we certainly wish them well. Men of Honor Mississippi. Another story in Jackson involves an awful lot of money from the Department of Transportation, and this came from a WLBT News report. Jackson has received $20 million through the federal grant to rebuild Medgar Evers Boulevard. So the grant was first awarded to the city back in 2021 by the Department of Transportation. Money is coming from the Rebuilding America Infrastructure with Sustainability and Equity, or RAISE is the acronym, discretionary fund program. The project former highway into a multimodal complex street from Medgar Evers Boulevard to the Woodrow Wilson Avenue Five Points area on the south, to Coleman Avenue and Ridgeway Street on the north. That's Councilman Kenny Stokes' district, and he's been involved in this and said there was a match for that money provided from the 1% sales tax. He said he hopes to have the project completed by no later than 2026. So 3 years to go to get that 1.5 mile stretch situated. Kenny Stokes on the job. Next story having to do with the incarcerated people in Mississippi. 1 year after air conditioning installation began at Mississippi's oldest and largest prison, incarcerated people at the state penitentiary at Parchman's Unit 29 and other prisons are still without relief from the sweltering heat, as funding, DOC says funding dictates when the air conditioning can be installed. An inmate named Andrico Peggs, incarcerated Unit 29, told Mississippi Today by telephone, everything outside is double in here as far as the temperature. He says, you got to picture how hot it is. We're in nothing but brick and steel, Pegg says. And we just want to remind, in 2022, the Department of Justice reported about the unconstitutional conditions at Parchman, found the highest temperature recorded was in Unit 25, was 145.1 degrees. Human beings living up in there, 145.1 degrees. Temperature logs had showed temperatures over 100 degrees every day during a period of reported complaints and during 2/3 of all the dates that were logged. And these people finding excuses not to provide the air conditioning. And we remind us, the viewers too, that there's nowhere on planet Earth that incarcerates more people than the state of Mississippi. And there's no country on earth that incarcerates more people than the United States of America, and that's by a long shot. It's not even close. The next closest country is thousands and thousands of people away from the amount of people we incarcerate here in USA, and Mississippi, the worst of the entire nation. Governor Tate Reeves, this also from Mississippi Today, Governor Tate Reeves boasting on social media that Mississippi's per capita personal income increased by about $8,700 during his tenure as governor, does seem to leave out some key information. We're still last in the nation in per capita income. And a big part of why we're the poorest state in the nation. But yet the governor wants to be reelected, and he's boasting about an increase of $8,700 to per capita income. And that may be the case, but it's just not the whole story, is it? So we're grateful to Mississippi Today for digging that information out. Also, on these primary elections, these campaigns going on around the state, the hospital crisis has emerged as the state's most dire problem. We've shared with you before the closures, the elimination of services, mental health sharply curtailed, having to send people out for mental health from Hinds County now. Beds at capacity. One new facility from Merit Health coming supposedly later this summer, 50 beds, but it's not here yet. NICUs being closed, even emergency services being closed throughout the state. Big crisis going on. Lots of money being spent by hospitals on uncompensated care. And but despite all that, you only hear one person that's seeking elected office at the highest levels talking about it. They're talking about everything else except the hospitals, except the health care, which is ranked, yeah, you guessed it, 50th in the nation. Less than 3 weeks away. Less than 3 weeks away from the primaries. And Brandon Presley, running for governor, is the only one that's not hearing anything from Tate Reeves on the hospitals, not hearing anything from Delbert Hosemann or Chris McDaniel or some of these other folks, Jason White, but they're sure talking about the other issues. So just really sad that that's the case. I'm not sure how you run for one of these top offices without talking about, how exactly do you go about doing that? You don't talk about the biggest problem that's facing the largest number of people in your state, and yet you want to continue to govern them or to be the lieutenant governor, and you're not looking the people in the eye and talking about it. It's just fraudulent. It's hypocrisy. They gave the state of Mississippi in the last legislative session, as we were reminded this past Monday night by esteemed State Representative Edward Blackman Jr. from Canton, told us, they gave $100 million to Mississippi hospitals, but there's restrictions attached to that money. But back in November, just a little over 6 months ago, they called a one-day special session of the legislature to give $247 million to one single company, Steel Dynamics. In 2020, Steel Dynamics posted revenues of $9.6 billion. And they want to build a plant in Mississippi, and Mississippi turned around and gave them $247 million in direct grants and tax incentives, deferments, etc., caps, but $100 million to hospitals that are caving in. What does that tell you about the legislative priorities? And sadly enough, this aluminum plant going to be up in the Golden Triangle. Sadly enough, very few, only 5 Democrats objected. Everybody else went along with it. And those Democrats were in the House. 0 Democrats in the Senate, 0, voted against giving this one multi-billion-dollar company all this money, as our hospitals are caving in. The state health director says that a solid 25% of healthcare services in Mississippi will evaporate within the next 3 years. So that's it on the overall Mississippi front, and we're just going to dip out for a couple of commercials from our Cracker Jack producer, and then we'll be right back with you.
Looking for the hottest content in the city of Jackson and surrounding areas? Check out WeBelieveDigital.com. Also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. We Believe Digital Podcast is here for all your podcasting needs.
The Mississippi Link is an African-American female-owned newspaper with a trusted voice that is highly respected throughout the city, state, and nation. Our motto, keepers of the knowledge for people who speak the truth, since 1993. Link significantly influences the thoughts, attitudes, and buying decisions of its readers. Call us at 601-368-8481 for your advertising needs. If you would like to receive a newspaper in the mail each week, our annual subscription is only $52 per year. That is only $1 per week for you to stay informed regarding many stories that you can only get in the Mississippi Link. Sign up today at themississippiLink.com and click on Home Delivery.
And welcome back. Welcome back to the Newsbreak Show, We Believe Digital Studios. We're glad you're joining us today. We're always available if you'd like to learn more about We Believe Digital. Give us a call, 800-492-5186. and we'll be happy to answer any questions you have or give you a tour of the studio here, maybe talk to you about doing your own podcast show, doing some advertising for your business, whatever you need. We've got it right here at We Believe Digital, and we look forward to helping you. We like to think of ourselves as the video voice of the community. A federal judge ordered Friday, early this morning, that the trial in the classified documents case brought by special counsel Jack Smith, brought against former President Donald Trump, will begin in mid-May of next year. This is the classified documents down at Mar-a-Lago. We've all heard about it 1,000 times. Well, he's putting the Justice Department putting the former President of the United States, who thinks, he kind of above the law, putting him on trial starting mid-May. That's U.S. District Judge Eileen Cannon, who was appointed by Trump, said that the trial could begin as early as May 20th. A pre-trial hearing in the case will be held on May 14th. So that's just one of the legal issues going on in the life of our former president. Sad news this morning for an awful lot of people with the passing of legendary singer Tony Bennett. Passed away this morning at age 96. Had Alzheimer's. I remember watching an interview with him, I don't know, was it a year ago or something, interviewed by, I believe it was Anderson Cooper, and he was just kind of in and out. There were times when he had just a vivid memory and was recounting things that had happened, and other times, kind of struggling with the basics. Comes with Alzheimer's. It's just sad to see such a dynamic voice like that. Frank Sinatra, Frank Sinatra, one of the, somebody that many people thought highly of, the golden voice, I think they called him. He always said that it was Tony Bennett that was at the top of his game. Tony Bennett, best known for singing "I Left My Heart in San Francisco." And this report came via CNN from his longtime publicist, Sylvia Weiner, Weiner. His career spanned 8 decades. And he was on MTV, he was in some episodes of The Simpsons, recorded 2 albums of duets with Lady Gaga. And along the way, in this 80-year career, he won 19 Grammy Awards. So rest in peace, Tony Bennett. Very likable, seemed very likable guy, genuine, down to earth. Yesterday, President Biden did some talking with the powers that be in the world of AI, artificial intelligence. Microsoft, Google, other leading artificial intelligence companies committed Friday to put new AI systems through outside testing before they are publicly released to clearly label AI-generated content, the White House announced. The pledges are part of a series of voluntary commitments agreed to by the White House and 7 leading AI companies, which include Amazon, Meta, OpenAI, Anthropic, and Inflection, aimed at making AI systems and products safer and more trustworthy, while Congress and the White House develop a more comprehensive regulations to govern this rapidly growing industry. A lot of fear out there about AI, a lot of concern about people losing their jobs with AI. President Joe Biden will meeting with top executives from all 7 companies on Friday. They've already been gathering there yesterday, meeting with staff, and will meet with the president today. Big shift from AI to Popeyes. Remember that Popeyes chicken sandwich? Can't beat it. So Popeyes, though, is now selling its own version of the viral girl dinner, quote, girl dinner, unquote. Girl dinner trend with a variety of sides that make a meal, including mashed potatoes, macaroni and cheese, Cajun fries, coleslaw, biscuits, and red beans and rice. You get to put what you want in there for your girl dinner. How about that? So I don't know how people feel about that. I just learned about it. I don't see fried chicken on there anywhere, so therefore, it's really not for me. And if you could see the size of me below this desk right here, you could see that I never miss out on my fried chicken. We shifted from Popeyes to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. We told you before this story, about these white supremacists out there. This was, over a year ago now. A total of 31 Patriot Front members, including one identified as its founder, were arrested June 11th, 2022, after someone reported seeing people loading into a U-Haul van like a, quote, a little army at a hotel parking lot in Coeur d'Alene. So what these people were trying to do was to interfere with a pride event. So 5 members of those 31 were convicted yesterday of misdemeanor charges of conspiracy to riot at a pride event. A Kootenai County jury found Forrest Rankin, Devin Center, Derek Smith, James Michael Johnson, and Robert Whitted guilty after about an hour of deliberation, according to different news outlets. So they'll be sentenced, I believe, this coming Friday, a week from today. And so 5 out of the 31 indicted. Not sure what that says about the remaining people. I guess we'll find out over time. On Wednesday, we reported to you about the country music television had aired this Jason Aldean video. Let's see, called "Try That in a Small Town," and but they yanked it. CMT yanked the video because they got widespread complaints from their members and their users, social media, etc. So a little update on that story is social media users, some of whom are identifying themselves as country music fans, are calling for a boycott of Country Music Television Network after it pulled Jason Aldean's controversial music video, "Try That in a Small Town." So think that through for a minute now. So because they yanked it, they want to boycott country music television. So that tells you something about those people. CMT had initially aired the video but yanked it on Monday after it garnered widespread attention over its lyrics and for featuring a Tennessee courthouse where a black teenager was lynched in 1927. CMT did not respond to requests for comments on today. How about that? A record 16 Chinese warships were spotted in waters around Taiwan in a 24-hour period late last week. That's according to the Taiwanese Defense Ministry. what analysts said was the latest sign of an intimidation campaign against Taipei by China's ruling Communist Party. Over 72 hours in the middle of last week, 73 aircraft either crossed the Taiwan Straits median line, an informal demarcation point that Beijing does not recognize, but until recently largely respected, or entered the southern parts of or southwestern parts of Taiwan's ADIZ, which stands for Air Defense Identification Zone. 73 of the PLA aircraft. So you got these Chinese warships, more than they'd ever seen before, and then 72 aircraft, more than they've ever seen before, 73 aircraft in a 72-hour period. Once again, more than they'd ever seen before over there. So again, Taiwan is trying to, be a democratic nation. They're an important nation, and they're supported by the U.S. and lots of other allies. But the Chinese government is trying to intimidate them through a military show, kind of saber rattling kind of stuff. Sad. Yes, Mr. Williams, good to see you. And we all concerned about this AI stuff. Amazing how that's going on. A man over here in the building showed me a really bright young man showed me a couple of months ago by just opening up that Chat GPT, typing in a couple of little sentences. Next thing you know, I had a whole page worth of information about a topic. I think we did like a resignation letter or something like that, and it was just full of faulty information. But so we're all scared of that. Thanks for joining us today. And we ask what is so important about Taiwan is that they are the world's leading producer of these microchips. That's what's so important. All these systems, automobiles, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That is one of the biggest things. In addition to that, there they are right next to mainland China, and they're trying to be a democratic nation. So that's why we're, on both of those fronts, economically and morally. That's why we're trying to support them. Okay, Private Second Class Travis King, we told you about on Wednesday, who was supposed to be heading to Fort Bliss, Texas, after finishing a prison sentence in South Korea for assault, ran into North Korea while he was on a civilian tour of the border village on Tuesday. He's the first known American to be held in North Korea in nearly 5 years. Yesterday, the Pentagon reached out to counterparts in North Korea's People's Army. And my understanding is that those communications have not yet been answered. This is according to Matthew Miller, spokesperson for the U.S. State Department, said on Wednesday in Washington. Pardon me. So I guess, he knew he was probably due for more punishment when he got back to stateside. And probably a dishonorable discharge or a general discharge, but I guess he just rolled the dice and thought somehow he would be safer or protected or what have you by sprinting across the line of demarcation there into North Korea. I got a feeling he'd regretting that decision already, but who knows? Wish the best for him. Russian missiles struck grain warehouses in Odessa, the Ukraine, destroying tons of crops as Moscow forces targeted the southern port city for a fourth straight night. The Ukrainian military said the sustained attacks are part of Moscow's efforts to destroy Ukraine's ability to export food after pulling out of the Black Sea grain agreement. The grain and foods that come out of Ukraine feed the world. They call it the Ukraine, the shopping cart of the world, Moscow used to be part of that. Russia used to be part of that, but they've pulled out, and they're doing that as a way to retaliate. Moscow said it is retaliating for Monday's strike on a Crimea bridge. So, but this isn't just going to harm Ukraine. It's going to harm people around the world if they don't keep that train, so to speak, of grain moving through the Black Sea. So that's all we have for you today, and wish you the best weekend possible. Sweltering heat out there. Really, I checked the forecast before we came on, and it's going to be several more days. There's no substantial rain forecast in the next several days. So we're going to have to bear with this and hang in there and take good care of yourselves and those around you. And we'll be back with you this coming Wednesday at 12 noon. Take good care.